Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
What is up, guys? I'm Andres.
I'm
Sabrina.
And this is The Meaning of Podcast, a podcast where we talk about your favorite film directors and the deeper meaning within their films. We are doing our top 10 of 2019. I am very excited to hear your guys' list.
I can't wait.
Sabrina, you're number 10.
My number 10 is Booksmart.
Ooh.
Directed by Olivia Wilde.
Yeah.
I think it's just really exciting to see this kind of film, you know, through the point of view of teenage girls. We got that a lot with like Superbad and things like that in the past, but I wanted to see it through these girls' lens. So I think it really captures that experience. They talk about things like, you know, like sex and being gross. I want to see that from teenage girls. I wish I had this when I was younger. Because it's not something we get to see too often. Beanie Feldstein and Caitlin Dever's chemistry is absolutely amazing. Like, I think they were perfectly casted in these roles, and Olivia Wilde's directing is like super refreshing, super exciting. So that's why it's my top 10.
Yeah, and it's a directorial debut for her.
Yes, exactly.
Man, that's really good. What are your thoughts on Booksmart?
I love Booksmart. I actually saw that with my boys, Kate Huseby and Riley Chapman. Those are my three movie guys at USC. And we all walked out really, really loving it because we all love like Superbad. Yeah. And what was the other one that came out this year? Good Boys.
Good Boys.
That kind of had that Superbad feel, but this one stood out because it's female protagonist told from a female perspective, and it was still really funny and really raunchy. I love the teacher character in that. I like both the teacher characters actually. Jason Sudeikis, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the black woman who's also the teacher.
Yeah,
who's
she's
at
great.
The party too.
Jessica Williams.
There it is. Yeah. I can catch her name.
Daily Show Times. I've had a crush on Jessica Williams for years.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. Nah, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think overall this movie is absolutely hysterical, and it's on my honorable mentions too. So.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Again, another great year for female directors.
Definitely.
That's
Definitely.
This one got a nomination for the Critics' Choice, right? For Best Script?
For Booksmart?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. That's another Oscar snub we didn't talk about,
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
This one got a lot of love, I feel, though. At least, unfortunately, not box office-wise.
Yeah, which I was
Kinda
honestly
bombed.
really surprised about, just because everybody I talked about how excited they were to go see it. I know so many people who went to go see it, but I guess just overall, you know, as a country, maybe other regions weren't caring about it as much, you know?
Yeah. What's your favorite scene from this movie? Off the top.
Oh my God.
Off the dome.
Oh my God. Okay, so them watching porn.
Oh yeah.
When they're in the car with Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
Yeah.
That's my favorite scene too.
Yeah, it's so good. I cried.
It's so funny what you can do with sound effects and just the effect of it, right? Because you don't see anything, you just hear. And it's just really funny.
It's so good.
That was actually the moment I laughed out loud when I was watching this movie.
I think I almost peed my pants.
So that's
hysterical.
I also like that the protagonist, obviously Beanie plays that role of like
Jonah
the girl
Hill's
who
sister
wants
too,
to,
right?
Yeah, which is kind of funny. It's like the coming full circle of Superbad. It's like the Superbad franchise. But I like that she's kind of like the one who's like really into like the hot dude. But I love that the main character, the homegirl, is like in girls, and I'm just like, oh, that's really.
That's
I don't know. I kind of like the idea of like the fact that she's like a conservative girl, like very conservative family.
Yeah.
Where she's like, I've never experienced anything. Like my family is super like Christian, but she's into girls, and I was like, that's kind of cool.
No, that's actually funny that I didn't mention that because I always talk about LGBTQ representation in film, in media, all that kind of stuff, and how important it is. Right. So that's another aspect that I absolutely love about this film.
And the whole time you're really rooting for. At least I was. I was like, get a girl, come on, girl.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you got this.
shout out to Booksmart.
So my number 9 is a documentary. It's Love, Antosha.
Oh, that's Anton Yelchin.
Yeah, Yelchin.
My bad.
So it's a documentary that follows the short but really exciting life of the late Anton Yelchin. So he passed away at 27. You know, he was in Star Trek, like crazy, amazing, talented actor. And it's kind of this really beautiful, heartfelt celebration of like this truly remarkable man. Watching his life is so uplifting. I thought it was going to be really, really sad, and I was in tears for a lot of it, but in a really good way, like a very, very warm. It makes you just want to live life because you never know what's going to happen next. And I know because he passed away by getting crushed by his own car, and his parents used the money in like the settlement to fund this. So that's something that's really beautiful, and they play a huge part in it, and it's just so good. And yeah, so I think we're just super fortunate to be able to get this kind of glimpse into his personal world, and I'm super happy it exists.
Oh my God, this is why I do this podcast with you guys. I've never heard of this movie.
Are you serious?
No, and it sounds incredible.
Yeah.
I was just talking about this guy with my family because we rewatched all the Abrams Star Trek movies, 1, 2, 3. And I literally go to my mom. I'm like, what's great about Star Trek, Mom, is that there's so many great casts of characters from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And I asked her, like, who's one of your favorites? And she's like, I love the little Russian kid. And I was like, oh, yeah, you know, he passed away. And she's like, oh, my God, you're breaking my heart. And I told my mom the story and how great of a talent he is. And the stories I've heard from him, because I knew a couple friends that knew him. And they were always like, yeah, he was a really quirky guy, but he was really nice and he was really down to earth and he was really like motivated by certain things. And I was like, man, what an interesting story and what a devastating story, to be real. So thank you, Sabrina.
Well, yeah, but
because I want to see this now.
Yeah,
and
I've been
I will
following
see
it since, because I was a huge fan of him. Like Crazy is one of my favorite movies. So I've been following this since it was in like pre-production. Then it premiered at Sundance and it got so much love, and I could not wait. And there was like one random theater so far away from me showing it, and I did check it out there, and then I checked it out again on like home video. So. Yeah, it's really, I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, no, I really need to check that out. Like,
oh, you have to.
Yeah, for sure.
8 is Honey Boy.
Okay,
nice.
okay.
Yeah,
There you go, man.
Yeah, so of course, everything you said, completely agree with it. I've talked about it, a lot of the films actually on my list on this channel already.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we did do a review on this one, but it's just so incredibly written, incredibly acted. It is one of the most honest and raw emotionally films I've seen this year.
Right.
It's just so beautiful to see how Shia can be so vulnerable with his writing and playing his own father.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, my heart was in pieces watching him do that. But it's incredibly courageous of him, and the result is absolutely fantastic. Like, I'm so happy that he was able to share this story with the world.
Yeah.
And Alma Harrell did one of the best jobs this year at directing this.
Right?
I mean, there were so many women actually working behind the scenes in this film. I mentioned it in the review.
the DP is a woman.
DP,
Yeah.
a few.
The editor.
Yeah. So that's something, you know, that's fantastic. That's like a triumph. The fact that they were able to do all this.
Salute to Shia for helping make that happen,
Yeah.
too.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I've always liked Shia LaBeouf, if I'm being real.
Same.
Yeah, me too.
And I've always enjoyed his passion, even though a lot of it is out. I mean, he talks about it in the movie.
Yeah.
A lot of it is directed towards a different direction that he wish he hadn't. But I'm happy for this movie, especially for Alma Harrell. I know a lot of people are talking about the kid. Shout out to the
Noah
kid.
Jupe.
Oh, yeah.
Noah Jupe, he's incredible.
He's incredible
Yeah.
in the movie.
Superstar.
But
So good.
But I really do feel like my biggest takeaway is her, Alma Harrell. You
my
could tell
gosh.
that she's. I mean, I've seen a lot of behind the scenes from this movie, and you could tell like she is that emotional director who's there to get the emotion out of you.
Yeah.
And this is such an emotional movie. Which is why I loved it. Again,
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be my top 3. I was like, that's got to be my top 3 when I saw
That's
it. And
what
then
I
I just
thought
saw other
too.
movies and I was like, oh, I forgot.
It is so hard because
Yeah.
I kept seeing something and I'm like, oh yeah, this is making it like top 5 for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But just it making in the top 10, you know, with the stacked films like year we had, whatever. That's, you know, it's still really high up.
I also, full disclosure, I was also a big Even Stevens fan.
Oh, yeah.
Same.
I grew up with Even
Same.
Stevens. Really? You guys were like 2 though when it came.
Nah, we
Really?
weren't.
No way.
Nah.
No,
I'm
the
just playing
Even
with y'all.
Stevens movie, that
Yeah.
that
Even
shit was
Stevens.
good.
Yeah.
That movie was good.
It was
It's on
great.
Disney Plus, and I actually watched it, and I was like, "This is actually good."
Even
I
the,
need to rewatch
even
it.
the
I
Shia
had-
LaBeouf movie where he plays the slow kid. I like that one.
Which one?
You know, the one that he plays this. All right, hold up. Let me not say that. I'll find it because I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Also, Holes.
Oh, Holes. Yeah.
Holes,
too.
Holes. Actually, Holes was literally the first movie that I watched as a kid, and I was like, wow, this is like an adult movie. Like, I like this movie a lot.
Holes is so good. I think it's literally a classic.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm laughing at Holes because someone put on Twitter
Yes.
when I show my kids like all the Marvel movies, and it's like, "Dad, Grandpa, I'm tired." Well, that's too damn bad. And that's like the meme of like,
Yeah.
I imagine myself as a
Yeah.
grandpa showing my kids like all my favorite movies, and it's like, "Grandpa, I'm tired." Well, that's too damn bad.
No, and somebody made like a Holes film Twitter account, like as if it's like
Oh, no
came
way.
out right now, and the only tweet is "We digging holes."
Bro, you know
And I
what's
was
funny?
just like,
I gotta be real with y'all too. I know we're talking about holes in this. We're going on a sidetrack.
Oh, yeah.
But I went to I believe it's LA Comic Con, not LA Comic, WonderCon. I went to WonderCon, and y'all know me. I go to the con. I do cons. I go to a lot of cons. But when I go to a con, I've been with you. I haven't been with you to cons, but I carry my gallon of water.
Yeah.
And I think it was Christian. Shout out to Christian Copster, who was like, "Hey, those girls are carrying gallons of water too." And then they turn around and they're in holes outfits with gallons of water.
Oh, that's
Oh
good.
my
And
God.
I was about to give them a shout out, be like, "Yo, and then they were like, "No, that's their cosplay.
They're like, no, it's part of this.
They're part of their costume." And I was like, "Oh, damn, I'm a
that is
Holes
incredible.
character.
Yeah.
Actually,
I'm literally a Holes character."
You should cosplay as that one of these years.
You
That'd be
have
amazing.
to.
I know. I'm done.
yeah.
I'm done. I had the biggest crush on Tawny from Even Stevens, the dark-haired,
yeah.
like goth girl. I was like, "That's my
course you
girl
did.
right there." I know.
This is the second time you're talking about having a crush on somebody in this episode.
yeah.
I know.
Take a shot.
Where's Tony Wagner?
Where's Tony Wagner?
Yeah, Tony Wagner. Call this dude out.
He's
man.
like, "Yo, he's gotta stop it. He's gotta stop."
My number 7 is Jojo Rabbit.
Ooh,
Hey.
Saw it
we
together.
both saw it,
Yeah.
You guys did a
yeah.
review. Was this your first review together?
I think
It
this
was.
probably our first
It was.
review.
That's
Also,
so
highest
crazy.
rated review.
Hey,
Nice.
okay.
Yeah.
So I really didn't know what to expect going into this film. I mean, like, it's a crazy premise.
Yeah.
But I know I'm familiar with a lot of Taika Waititi's work, and I'm a huge fan. So I trust him a lot as a filmmaker to tackle something like this, especially when dealing with children and stories. I think he's able to tap into this like childlike wonder and innocence in a very beautiful way. So pairing that ability with this story turned it into something phenomenal, in my opinion. There's like such an immense amount of heart. And I think that's why it has a very special place in my heart. It tells a lot. It deals with a lot of themes, and even though it takes place in like a different time period, it's still relevant to this day to like think about. You look at somebody and you see somebody that's like foreign to you, and you might have all these like preconceived notions, but then once you decide to get past something like that, you can see them for who they really are. And I think that's a message that we all kind of need to see, in, still in 2020, which is sad, but it's a beautiful way of telling that kind of story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Arbor 3, your thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely love Jojo Rabbit. I really, really wanted it to make my top 10 list.
Yeah.
It barely hits the honorable mentions.
Yeah.
But I think I'm sorry, yeah. But I think it is like really, really amazing at the story that I was trying to tell. I think Taika Waititi is probably one of the greatest that we got working right now. And that movie only continues to prove it. So I'm happy to see him get the recognition he deserves for this.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked about this movie with you guys. It's interesting. I love Taika. Taika to me is like honestly one of my inspirations. What We Do in the Shadows is one of my all-time favorite movies, like all-time. Thor Ragnarok. We've talked about Thor Ragnarok because we did our list that year, and I put it in my top 3.
You did.
Top 3 of the year?
Yeah.
Wow.
I love
I
love Thor Ragnarok probably more than anyone.
I remember we got into a big argument at the Schmo show because they were like, "Oh man, Thor Ragnarok's a 10 out of 10." I was like, "Bro, there's no way." Like,
and I was like, "Fine, 9.5."
Yeah, 9.5.
Yeah, because I really do feel like it kind of is a perfect movie. Thor, in my opinion,
It
Thor
is
Ragnarok.
so good. I agree with you.
I think it's a perfect. I walked out and I was like, I think that's a perfect movie.
Yeah.
I don't think anything wrong with it. But and I'm the only one here that watches the What We Do in the Shadows show, which he's very involved in, which is another incredible show.
And The Mandalorian.
Oh, and The Mandalorian, of
Oh,
course.
wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the guy's incredible. Like, for crying out loud. And the fact that I don't know. I like that he's very involved with, like, the opening scene of The Mandalorian episode 8, or episode 9. That's
8.
Taika Waititi,
Yeah,
in a nutshell.
With the two stormtroopers.
Two stormtroopers talking. Have you
So
seen
good.
it?
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay.
So good.
Because I was going to talk about it. I wasn't able to, so this is my review of
God.
Mandalorian.
Yeah, we should do a Mandalorian.
Mandalorian
now
episode.
We're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn, that could have got some views.
But I'm gonna do something with Force Center. I've already talked to.
Oh, that's
to
good.
about. But at the same time, I just think it's funny. This is my first time talking about it on a mic. But that scene is perfect Taika Waititi to me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't have that same connection to Jojo Rabbit. I didn't feel the same things I felt in his other work. It doesn't mean it's not a beautiful movie. It doesn't mean the intentions and the heart behind this movie is not a giant heart, because I really do feel like Taika has a huge heart. As goofy, as ridiculous as he has a very big heart. And the stuff he fights for in his home country is something that I've been following, maybe because I follow him on Twitter, and he's very vocal about certain things, about climate change, about abusive issues, about racism in his own country. And he's very open about it, and I really like that. And I really like that he's one of the co-creators and directors of one of my all-time, I'm talking all-time favorite shows, Flight of the Conchords. Something that, again, I don't think you guys know about, but I watched this show on HBO, and I actually bought their albums. I actually was going to see them live. I love Flight of the Conchords. I know their songs by heart. Like, I even know it on guitar. And Taika, his involvement with that, as small as it was, I think this guy's a genius.
Yeah,
like a genius. And I love that he's also, my last thing, he's a giant ass vampire fan. Like, hard. I've seen him interviews about What We Do in the Shadows talking about, like, well, in vampire lore, and I was just like, bro, no one knows that. And he was talking about very specific details, unless you're like a hardcore vampire guy like me, who actually reads about vampires.
Right.
So I appreciate that on a huge meta level.
I feel that. I love
so, shout out to him.
My number 6 is Uncut Gems.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so directed by the Safdie brothers. You know, we've been talking about it a little bit today already. So I think this is just an intense and like dizzying masterpiece. I always hesitate to use the word masterpiece. I've seen it 4 times.
Woo!
Last being yesterday night.
It's your number 6.
It's my number. I know.
I'm just playing with you.
That's exactly why I'm saying like this year was incredible, and I've seen this film 4 times. And so I just think it literally has not gotten old. You would think just because the story is so out there and it's very shocking when you see it for the first time that it might like, oh, I know what's going to happen now. It might change the outcome. Still doesn't. I'd still like, come on. And so Adam Sandler's performance is undeniably one of the best of the year. Hello, Oscar snub. I think it's a career best for him, and it's so incredible. This is so gritty, dirty, but it's super vibrant and beautiful at the same time. And this kind of cements the Safdies as one of the most exciting filmmakers working right now. They create this contained chaos that we've seen in Good Time and in this one that I don't even know. I do not know how they do it, and I can't sing my praises enough for that. And I think it's amazing on a lot of technical aspects, and then also, like sound mixing, sound design, score. We've talked about that. I watched it high one time. Nope.
Yeah.
I literally freaked out.
That opening sequence.
I literally freaked out, and I laid on my kitchen floor for 30 minutes, and then I forced myself to go to bed at 7:30 p.m. So 0 stars for the third time I saw it, but 5 stars for the movie, 0 stars for the experience. But love this. I can't talk about how much I love this movie enough.
I almost saw this movie with you guys, and I couldn't. If you guys remember that.
Yeah, it was late. It was late.
I saw it afterwards, and I texted you guys. I texted you guys right away, and I was blown away. Blown away by this movie, and that's all I'll say.
Because it's on your list too.
Yes.
It's on my list too.
I was gonna say that's where I'll leave it.
I'll leave it there too.
Yeah, alrighty.
I have plenty of words to say.
Sabrina, you're number 5.
My number 5 is Under the Silver Lake.
Oh,
yeah. So this is my one.
It's a 2019
really
movie,
weird,
huh?
Yeah. It had early 2019. I think it came out in February. It had release hell from A24. No marketing
because it came out at a film festival.
Cannes. And
I know about this shit.
to very, very mixed reviews, and I think they were just let's bury this. But I'm a huge fan of Andrew Garfield, but that has nothing to do with the fact that I love this movie so much. I think it's so refreshing. It's a refreshing take on a noir. It's a neo-noir. David Robert Mitchell, who did It Follows, I think he did something completely odd with this film, and I totally understand if it's not everybody's cup of tea. Have you seen it? Oh, wow. Okay. So it's basically the antithesis to something like La La Land. This shows kind of the grittier, dirtier sides of LA, and I really love that. I live in Silver Lake, so I'm hey, we out here.
Right, representation.
And there are hints of self-indulgence, and I'm in no way saying this is a perfect movie, but this was my number 1 for a long time. For basically the entire year up until these next releases came out, this was my number 1, and I thought it was had that slot secured basically. And David Robert Mitchell has said that this came to him in a fever dream, and it's so evident when you're watching it. It's so weird. I told you to watch it.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. You recommended it to me, and it would have been on this list if there weren't some other movies that I really liked on this on this list too. But yeah, I think it's a great neo-noir, very Hitchcockian, very really good.
I really should see this movie.
You have to.
Obviously everything because of everything you're saying, but also because of my connection to It Follows, a movie that I've adored forever, and I feel like that guy's already something special.
Yeah, this is incredibly dense, but it's very ambitious, and I think that's why I admire it a lot.
And obviously you love Andrew Garfield.
I love
I
Andrew
do
Garfield.
too, but not as much as you.
I love Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I love it for all of those
Another
reasons.
one on my list to
It's on
to
Amazon
watch.
Prime.
Oh, no
for
way.
anybody who hasn't seen it, it's on Amazon Prime. I did see it the first time.
I'm looking at you, man.
That's how I did watch it too, wasn't it?
I saw
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I saw it for the first time in theaters.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I was playing at the Los Feliz Theater, not too far from my house. So
Cool.
I went to go see it there. I had a crazy experience. I've probably seen it like 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
At this point, so yeah.
I know that trailer is really cool.
It is.
I've seen the trailer, but I haven't seen the movie.
It
It's a
is.
great
It's
movie.
unfortunate that a lot of people haven't really seen it because the trailer came out, people were talking about it, and then they just went, nope,
Yep.
doesn't exist. Thanos snapped it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because I remember hearing about it in 2018.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah, this movie 28. And I think the trailer came out in 2018. So
Oh, yeah.
That's why I was so confused. It's like, is this a 2019 movie? Because I thought
No, yeah.
one...
It came out the trailer came out way before it actually ended up being released.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'll check it out for sure. So that's your number 4.
That's my number 4.
My number 4 is Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay,
directed
okay.
by
A recent
Celine,
movie.
Very recent. Celine Sciamma. I hope
Yeah.
I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Wow, you did that great.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
gosh. Well, I just think this is incredibly sophisticated.
Mm-hmm.
Such a sophisticated, beautiful story, like romance story. It has spectacular acting and beautiful direction that's undeniable. I mean, you could literally take any frame and just be like, I want to just hang this up in my living room.
Yeah.
I weeped. And it left me speechless. And this is another thing I love to talk about with representation. We're seeing these beautiful, beautiful romance stories told through the lens of like 2 women. And we don't know their sexualities for sure, like in any way. But I think that's the beauty of it. It's just life and it's just love. And it's a similar feeling I have with Call Me By Your Name, which you guys know that I love.
Right.
So yeah, that's why this one stood out to me.
Yeah.
It's so spectacular.
Yeah, I was just talking about this movie before we went on air
Mm-hmm.
with someone outside, and it is a very special movie. It's actually my honorable mention, so
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to finish this one either, so I feel really bad missing out like all the good female directed movies this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I gotta watch The Farewell and I gotta watch Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I actually you sent me a thing for it, and I got about 40% through with it.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to finish it.
Yeah.
Back up, so.
No, I ended up having a lot, even just so far, a lot of female filmmakers, and that was by no intention.
Yeah.
That's just the way it ended up.
Yeah.
So that's how you know.
Because you had Olivia Wilde and Honey Boy.
Honey Boy, and then
this one.
more, and then
more coming too. All right,
More
I like
coming.
It. I like it.
Now you're number 3, Sabrina.
My number 3 is Little Women.
Hey.
Yeah. Directed by Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
This film, I've never been like happier in a theater at all this past year than I was watching this one. It is just so sweet, so warm. It feels like a hug. I mean, Greta Gerwig just has this like knack for capturing life as a girl in Lady Bird, and then as like a young adult in this one, even with the flash forwards back and forth, getting them in their younger years again. It really looks into the world like through that like youthful, vibrant lens, both in the character of Jo in this one, and then obviously Lady Bird and Lady Bird. The way it's like so nostalgic, but at the same time it feels very like modern and timeless. And we've had so many adaptations. Like this story is not shy of adaptations at all. But the way she like reinvigorates what that story already is. Like, I mean, it takes place in post-Civil War America, and I don't connect to period pieces. We had this conversation as easily as other people do. I still definitely enjoy them. This one didn't feel like that to me. Besides the costumes, which first of all, I talked to the sister Beth, played by Eliza Scanlon. I was able to interview her, and that was for Geeks of Color, and that was one of the things we talked about. I mentioned it to her. I was talking about how when I watched this, I could tell like the characterization of each sister just in their outfits. Like, and she told me, she said each sister kind of had a color palette, and that Laura Dern's character, who plays the mother, had a mixture of all of them. She had like all the color threads weaved in.
Oh.
And so she was like, that's so cool that you caught that. And I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, that costume design is, I'm like, yeah, I know. But yeah, that costume design is so spectacular. And it's my favorite of the year in terms of costume. So I cannot talk about Little Women enough. I've said it. I've seen articles that people are like, oh, like men aren't connecting with Little Women. I'm like, I don't think people are giving it a chance.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I will.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking of Lady Bird. We saw Lady Bird together.
Yeah. We both love those.
And we were like broing out about it. Like, yo, man, Lady Bird, though.
Yeah. Wasn't that a movie?
But yo, it's like, you cried? Yeah, you cried.
Yeah.
I thought Lady Bird was a perfect movie. And I feel like that has a lot to say about Greta Gerwig as a director. Like, my God, she's so good. Yeah. So I'm super excited to see it. And obviously, you guys know my feelings on Florence Pugh. I've said it a million times.
And she's spectacular. Well-deserved nomination for supporting actress.
Yeah. Any man who doesn't like this movie is stupid. I'm just going to say that right now. Like,
Thank you for saying it for me.
Yeah, no, I like this movie. Oh, okay. I like this movie a whole lot. We did a great review for it. Yeah. I wish there's a small part of me that, like, again, like the costume drama thing, I guess it affects me a little bit more.
It's interesting because it's the opposite for me. Full disclosure, guys.
Yeah.
Again, I'm the Game of Thrones guy. I'm the British drama guy. Yeah. I'm the Downton Abbey guy. I'm just I'm in, yo. I'm in. I'm the Crown. The Crown is like my favorite show of all time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the period piece guy. Yeah. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like, I wanted to see it with my mom. Full disclosure, we were going to see it together. We ended up seeing other movies together. A movie that's you'll see later on my list. Right. But it's one of those things where it's like we both enjoy that, and that's something we get a kick out of. So
yeah. If it would have made my list too, it's an honorable mentions for sure.
It's beautiful. So my number 2 is Parasite.
Oh. Yeah.
So I just, first of all, love Bong Joon-ho. I know you guys did an episode on him, and I was kind of familiar, and I've definitely like seen a lot more since. So just the way it tackles themes like, class struggle, greed, it's done in such a profound way. The way it looks into both families, it's like, even if somebody does something bad, it's like they're not like a huge like villain. Like, you're like rooting for them, Every single performance in this film is spectacular. That is one thing Bong Joon-ho's talked about a lot. He's talked about how the performances drive this film, and they're not the ones that are getting the recognition in all the acclaim right now. And he continues to just say the performances drive this. The ensemble is so spectacular. Bong Joon-ho's a great filmmaker. His direction was so good. The editing is insane. I know we've talked about this. And I think it's the most well-made film of 2019. I would love for this to win Best Picture. Even though it's not my number 1, I can acknowledge that this is the best film of the entire of 2019.
Wow.
So a lot. Parasite is insane. I was late to the party. I know you guys had seen it before. I didn't watch your spoiler review, nothing like that.
I think you saw it first, and then I saw it later. But
But
I saw it like
really
the week
late.
of when it came out.
Yeah.
I was really late. Like, I just saw it maybe like last week.
Really?
Yeah. So this is still really, really fresh, and I'm gonna go to the FYC screening on Thursday.
Hey.
Bong Joon-ho's gonna be there.
Hey.
So excited for that. I'm excited to see it again in theaters this time.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
I honestly feel like we talked about the Academy Awards before this episode, and I still feel like I can name any actor on that movie, specifically the dad.
Yeah, I was going to say the dad.
I forget his name.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I said the same thing on
I think
SCN.
it's Sung Park.
He's been in all of Bong Joon's movies.
I honestly could take out almost any actor on that supporting list. I mean, I guess he would be supporting, and put him on there.
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly,
yeah,
that's my biggest takeaway, and I'm sure you.
I mean, I 100% love this movie. I mean, it's no secret how much I love this movie. So, I mean,
leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that.
I want to go to you, Sabrina.
Yeah, I think I kind of know which one this is.
What's your?
So
I was gonna say I'm missing one from Sabrina's list. Oh yeah.
You guys already know. Everybody already knows. Marriage Story.
Oh yeah.
Number one movie of the year. There it is. Sabrina, can I interrupt you?
Yes.
And say it's my number 1 movie of the year.
Oh, look at that.
We did it, y'all. Shout out to I'll hold it up for the camera. Marriage Story, guys.
Marriage Story.
Tell me why, Sabrina.
Oh my God. So I was already anticipating this film for a long time. Huge Baumbach fan. But the second I walked out of the theater, I was with you and I cried and I knew it was cemented. There was no way anything could knock this down as number 1 for me. I mean, like from the performances, Jennifer Lame's editing, Baumbach's writing and directing, they all come together to like create something so incredibly authentic and heartfelt. I mean, this captures the beautiful and heartbreaking reality that comes with like love, growth, relationships, family. And this film just holds the most special place in my heart. I think people can connect to it on a lot of different ways. It doesn't just have to be from the perspective of like divorce or knowing how divorce feels. You can connect with this on deep, deep levels just from experiences in life. And that's something that I want to talk to you about. What are your thoughts?
I mean, we did a review, and I feel like everything we said in our review is exactly how we feel now. I saw this in theaters as well. And I felt like that experience was different for me. This is another Netflix movie, and shout out to Netflix. It made like my top 3 movies of the year. Two out of the top 3 is what I'm saying. Yeah, with Two Popes and Marriage Story. But seeing this in theaters, the way this movie is able to cinematically, because I really do feel like this is filmmaking. You know, the really pretentious thing to say. This is movies. Everything that people say about that, I felt it with Marriage Story. I felt like this is the MCU of movies. Like this was the end game for me because all the emotional, cinematic, and there's a theater thing there, and I have a theater background, so that's kind of why I had a connection to it. But there's a theater aspect to this movie where it's almost like a play. Yep. It's almost like a musical too, if you think about it. And I have that musical background, and it's one of those things where I felt like I'm seeing this on a stage. They're coming out to me, they're giving their monologues, and I'm feeling every emotion of that actor giving their all on that stage and leaving it all out there. I felt that watching it on a screen. And I felt like this is cinematic storytelling to the nth degree with the performances, with the score, with everything you said already. And it's able to do it with emotion and able to pull it out of you in every aspect. Again, I've never been divorced. My parents are divorced. Like, I'm not supposed to relate to this movie, but I do.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And it's beautiful in every aspect. And I feel like, I don't know. I really do feel like it's a perfect movie.
It truly is.
I know this movie, I know it's been memed, and people have weirdly misjudged it based on that one scene, which I think is a perfect scene.
Oh, which is so good in
context.
And
everyone's like, this sucks. This is film school garbage.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like,
Twitter.
No, and y'all giving, I don't know, other worse movies a lot of love.
Yeah, I would just hope nobody would judge it just based off of something they've like a 2-minute clip they've seen without seeing the entire film. I totally get if you don't want to check it out because you don't feel like you're gonna be into it. That's fine, but like, maybe wait to criticize it before you've actually seen it, because I genuinely do believe that it's Baumbach's most mature work. I do. Out of his entire career so far, this shows the growth in his filmmaking, just from the writing, just from the directing, being 2 perspectives, a story that's dear to him, and the fact that it's very objective. It's a story told from an objective standpoint. It doesn't villainize anybody. So that's why I love the fact that as a huge Baumbach fan, just constantly seeing him grow as a filmmaker. So
can we talk about what's one of your favorite moments or scenes that really made you feel like, oh, damn, like this is the movie of 2019?
So there's so many throughout the entire film, but the one that this is what cemented it for me, besides the fight scene, which is absolutely incredible. But I was sitting next to RB3, and the second we kind of hear his son's voice go like, Charlie is this. And he walks in, I was like, oh shit, the note. He's reading the note. Yeah, the note from the beginning. Once that came like full circle, and then when they're able to kind of like be in that environment, because even leading up to that, they're facing each other and they're kind of seeing like, okay, we did this, time has passed, and it's now another Halloween, you know? And so the second I was like, oh, no way. The second we hear him reading the note, and the way that emotional payoff, seeing Scarlett Johansson in the background, I mean,
that's
chills.
Mine.
Yeah.
So I got to be honest. That's mine. I know that's cheating, whatever, but him reading the damn thing is the performance of the year, the male performance, I guess, because Florence Pugh is still my favorite for Midsommar. But in my opinion, the best male performance of the year, it's when he's him reading the note, not when he's singing, not when he's punching the wall, even though that's all great. And a lot of people are like, look, he punched the wall. Like, this guy's powerful. I'm like, the scene, what?
That's just a funny, he punched the wall. He must have power.
But I'm saying, like, acting-wise. the scene when he's reading the note, and he starts to break down really slow, like really freaking slow, and his big ass lips are shaking, and his big ass nose is shaking. What? It is true.
I'm out.
I said it in Rise of Skywalker too. Like I felt it. I was like, I feel you, Kylo. You're Ben Solo now. Like I felt his redemption arc just because of Adam Driver, and when he's like shivering, reading it next to his son, and like you said, Scarlett's in the background, like the perfect frame.
Yeah.
I was like, this movie's perfect. This movie is
second. That's what cemented it.
Yeah.
I was like, I almost put it in my top of the decade, but I was like, it's still so fresh. I don't want to be like, running on this hype. But seriously, this is one of my favorite, easily, obviously my favorite film of 2019. One of my favorite films of the decade. Like, I can revisit this movie so many times, and it still makes me feel everything I felt. So I'm so happy that,
dude, I'm so excited.
I
honestly, like, if I'm being real, before we went in, I was like, I know Sabrina really likes this movie. But
come on.
I don't think she likes it as much as I do. I'm afraid another one of the movies is going to take over it.
No,
I was afraid
way.
that and I was like, crap, I'm going to be the weird guy who put Marriage Story at number one. But I'm so happy that you put it number one because we share that.
We all had it on our list.
We did.
You know, it connected with all of us. I think it connects with a lot of people.
Damn, I should have put it a little higher. What I put it
You put it at 8. I mean, to be fair, I put Parasite at 7, so I'm the bad child for doing that. Man.